always had an opinion and willing to stand up for it. How do I tell the difference between the spiritual night and my ego-based?
Right. Without discernment, it's hard to tell sometimes. And sometimes you do need kinesiology. And you need to, if you can't do kinesiology, you find somebody who can, who asks in your behalf, And that is a good question. That's a good question. Am I just being egoistic, or, what? See? You see the spiritual night come up in O'Reilly, the commentator, Fox News. I mean, he gets so indignant, you can just see the... Rapes a girl for 6 years and he gets 2 months in jail, and he's just burning with it, the indignation. Now that's the spiritual night. That's the spiritual night. It comes up with emotion like that, see? And it seems to be like an indignity, an affront to God's justice, Yeah. Sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes it starts out as genuine spiritual concern, and then the personality comes in and escalates it. Okay? Sometimes you see that with a rally. He starts out with a justifiable position, and then you can see the adrenaline come up about it, see? Mm-hmm. So you got both working there. You got the personal ego, you also got a certain spiritual awareness. So when is it the ego coming up? Is I think the amount of emotion with it. I remember in World War II, we didn't have any emotion about anything. Kamikazes, you took them down and they took you down. So what were you going to do with emotion? Where's the place for emotion? There's no emotion involved. You die, they die. That's what war is all about. They get you, or you get them. No emotion. I've been 1 second from death. The mind's about to explode. Neither one of us had any emotion about it. He says it might blow up. I says, yep. That was the end of the emotion. It's a fact, it might blow up. So when you totally accept, yeah, you might blow up, there's no room left for emotion. Emotion is what you haven't completed on a thing.
Bhagwan, I cannot leave the habit of chain smoking. I have tried hard, but I have failed always. Is it sin to smoke? Guru Charan, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Religious people are very skillful in doing that. Now what really you are doing when you are smoking? Just taking some smoke inside your lungs and taking it out. It is a kind of pranayam, filthy, dirty, but still a pranayam. You are doing yoga in a stupid way. It is not sin. It may be foolish, but it is not a sin, certainly. There is only one sin, and that is unawareness. And only one virtue, and that is awareness. Do whatsoever you are doing, but remain a witness to it. And immediately, the quality of your doing is transformed. I will not tell you not to smoke. That you have tried. You must have been told by many so-called saints not to smoke. Because if you smoke, you will fall into hell. God is not so stupid as your saints are. Just throwing somebody into hell because he was smoking cigarettes. will be absolutely unnecessary. Smoking is unhealthy, unhygienic, but not a sin. It becomes a sin only if you are doing it unconsciously. But it is not smoking that makes it a sin, but unconsciousness. You say, I cannot leave the habit of chain smoking. I am less interested in your chain smoking. I am more interested in your habit. Any habit that becomes a force, dominating force over you, is a sin. One should live more in freedom. One should be able to do things not according to habits, but according to the situations. Life is continuously changing. It is a flux. And habits are stagnant. The more you are surrounded by habits, the more you are close to life. You are not open. You don't have windows. You don't have any communication with life. You go on repeating your habits. So remember, I am against all kinds of habits. Good or bad is not the point. There is no good habit as such. There is no bad habit as such. Habits are all bad because habit means something unconscious that has become a dominating factor in your life, that has become decisive. You are no more the deciding factors. The response is not coming out of awareness, but out of a pattern, a structure that you have learned in the past. Guru Charan, smoking or no smoking, that is not important. Maybe if you continue to smoke, you will die a little earlier. So what? The world is so overpopulated. You will do some good by dying a little earlier. Maybe you will have tuberculosis. So what? If you really want something to do about your life, dropping smoking is not going to help, because I know people who drop smoking, then they start chewing gum. The same old stupidity. Or if they are Indians, they start chewing pan. It is the same. You will do something or other. Your unconsciousness will demand some activity, some occupation. It is an occupation. And it is only a symptom. It is not really the problem. It is not the root of the problem. Have you not observed? Whenever you feel emotionally disturbed, you immediately start smoking. It gives you a kind of relief. You become occupied. Your mind is distracted from the emotional problem. Whenever people feel tense, they start smoking. The problem is tension. The problem is emotional disturbance. The problem is somewhere else. Smoking is just an occupation. So you become engaged in taking the smoke in and out, and you forget for the time being, because mind cannot think of two things together. Remember it. One of the fundamentals of mind is it can think only of one thing at one time. It is one-dimensional. So if you are smoking and thinking of smoking, then from all other anxieties, you are distracted. That's the whole secret of the so-called spiritual mantras. It is nothing but distraction, like smoking. You repeat Om, 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 or Ram, 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 or Allah, Allah, Allah. That is just giving mind an occupation. And all these people who teach mantras say repeat as quickly as possible. So between two repetitions, there is not even a small gap. Let them overlap. So Ram, Ram, Ram. Don't give a gap between two Ramas. Otherwise some thought may enter. Repeat like crazy. Yes, it will give you a certain relief, the same relief that comes by smoking. Because your mind will be distracted from the anxieties and the world. You will forget about the world. You have created a trick. All mantras are tricks. But they are spiritual. Chain smoking is also a mantra. It is worldly mantra. Non-religious you can call it. Secular. The real problem is the habit. You say, I have tried hard to drop it. You have not tried to be conscious of it. Without trying to be conscious, you have tried to drop it. It is not possible. It will come back. Because your mind is the same. Its needs are the same. Its problems are the same. Its anxieties, tensions is the same. Its anguish is the same. And when those anxieties will arise, what you will do? Immediately, mechanically, you will start searching for the cigarettes. You may have decided again and again you have failed. Not because smoking is such a great phenomenon that you cannot get out of it, but because you are trying from the wrong end. Rather becoming aware of the whole situation, why you smoke in the first place, rather becoming aware of the process of smoking, you are simply trying to drop it. It is like pruning the leaves of a tree without cutting the roots. And my whole concern here is to cut the roots, not to prune the tree. By pruning the leaves and the branches, the tree will become thicker. The foliage will become thicker. You will not destroy the tree, you will be helping in fact. If you really want to get out of it, you will have to look deeper. Not the symptom, but the roots. Where are the roots? You must be a deep anxiety-ridden person. Otherwise, chain smoking is not possible. Chain smoking is a byproduct. You must be so concerned about 1,001 disturbances inside. You must be carrying a big load of worries on your heart, on your chest, that you don't know how to forget at least. You don't know how to drop them. Smoking at least helps you to forget about them. You say, I have tried hard. Be relaxed. Don't try hard. Because it is through relaxation you can become aware, not by trying hard. Be calm, quiet, silent. I will suggest, smoke as much as you want to smoke. It is not a sin in the first place. I give you the guarantee. I will be responsible. I take the sin over myself. So if you meet God on the judgment day, you can just tell him that this fellow is responsible. Relax and don't try to drop it with effort. No, that is not going to help. Zen believes in effortless understanding. So this is my suggestion. Smoke as much as you want to smoke. Just smoke meditatively. If Zen people can drink tea meditatively, why not you can smoke meditatively? In fact, the tea contains the same nicotine as the cigarettes contain. It is the same nicotine. There is not much difference. Smoke meditatively, very religiously. Make it a ceremony. Try it my way. Make a small corner in your house just for smoking. A small temple devoted to the god of smoking. Dedicated. First bow down to your cigarette packet. Have a little chit chat. Talk to the cigarettes. Inquire how you are. And then very slowly take a cigarette out of it. Very slowly as you can. Because only if you take it very slowly, you will be aware. Don't do it in a mechanical way as you always do. Then tape the cigarette on the package. Very slowly and as long as you want. There is no hurry either. Then take the lighters. Bow down to the lighters. These are our great gods, deities. Light is God. So why not the lighters? Then start smoking very slowly. Just like Vipassana. Don't do it like pranayam, quick and fast and deep. Very slowly. Buddha says, breathe naturally. So you smoke naturally. Very slow. No hurry. If it is a sin, you are in a hurry. If it is a sin, you want to finish it as soon as possible. If it is a sin, you don't want to look at it. You go on reading the newspaper and you go on smoking. Who wants to look at a sin? But it is not a sin. So watch it, every act of yours, and divide your acts into small fragments so you can move very slowly. and you will be surprised by watching your smoking. Slowly, smoking will become less and less, and one day suddenly it is gone, and you have not made any effort to drop it. It has dropped on its own accord, because by becoming aware of a dead pattern, routine, a mechanical habit, you have released a new energy of consciousness in you. Only that energy can help you. Nothing else will ever help. And not only about smoking, Guru Charan, about everything else in life. Don't try too hard to change yourself. That leaves scars. I emphasize, not smoking is not virtue. Smoking is not sin. Awareness is virtue, unawareness is sin. And then the same law is applicable to your whole life.
So it all comes down to this basic question, that human beings have for a long, long time been concerned about transforming their minds. Is there any way in which one's mind can be transformed? Or is it simply a process which is nothing more than a vicious circle? I could ask, why have you come here this afternoon? What were you looking for? Would it be too presumptuous of me to say that you were looking for help? That you hoped you would hear somebody who had something to say that would be of help and relevance to you as members of a world which is running into the most intense difficulty. A world beset by a complex of problems, any one of which would be bad enough. But when you add together all the great political, social, and ecological problems with which we are faced, they are appalling. And one naturally says, the reason why we are in such a mess is not simply that we have wrong systems for doing things, whether they be technological, political, or religious, but we have the wrong people. The systems may be all right, but they are in the wrong hands because we are all, in various ways, self-seeking, lacking in wisdom, lacking in courage, afraid of death, afraid of pain, unwilling really to cooperate with others, unwilling to be open to others. And we all think that's too bad. It's me that's wrong. And if only I could be the right person. Is this man going to tell me something that will help me to change myself so that I will be a more creative and cooperative member of the human race? I would like to improve. So in so many people's minds and from so many different angles, there is this urgent feeling that I must improve me. And this is critically important because it's obvious that, at least it's superficially obvious, that the way things are, we are going to hell fast. Now in this question, can I improve me? There is the obvious difficulty that if I am in need of improvement, the person who's going to do the improving is the one who needs to be improved. And there immediately we have a vicious circle. All right, you want grace. Well, ask God, maybe he'll give it to you. And the theologian will tell you, yes, God gives his grace freely. He gives it to all because he loves all. It's here like the air. All you have to do is receive it. Or a more orthodox, a Catholic Christian would say, all you have to do is to be baptized, to take the holy sacrament of the altar, the bread and wine, the body and blood of Christ, and there is the grace right there. And it's given by these simple physical means so that it's very easily and readily available. Well, a lot of people got baptized, and it doesn't always take. People fall from grace. Why do they? You see, we're just talking about the same old problem, but we've put it a step up. but it's the same problem. How can I improve myself was the first problem. The second problem is, how can I accept grace? They're both the same problem, because you've got to make a move which will put yourself out of your own control into the control of a better. If you don't believe in the Christian kind of a God, you can believe in the Hindu kind of a God, who is your inner self. You see, you've got a lower self, which you can call your ego. That's that little scoundrelous fellow that's always out for me. But behind the ego, there is the Atman, the inner self, the inward light, as Quakers would call it. The real self, the spirit, which is substantially identical with God. So you've got to meditate in such a way that you identify with your higher self. Now, how do you do that? Well, you start by watching all your thoughts very carefully, watching your feelings, watching your emotions, so that you begin to build up a sense of separation between the watcher and what is watched, so that you are, as it were, no longer carried away by your own stream of consciousness. You remain the witness, impassively, impartially, suspending judgment and watching it all go on. That seems to be something like progress. At least you're taking an objective view of what is going on. You are beginning to be in a position to control it. But just wait a minute. Who is this self behind the self, the watching self? Can you watch that one? It's interesting if you do, because you find out, of course, that this is just as the problem of grace is nothing more than a transposition of the first problem. How am I to be unselfish? By my own power. It becomes, how am I to get grace by my own